Mr. Cook here. Welcome to session number 37 of Mastering Mandelbulb3D Formulas. Boy, we've come an awful long way here. We've talked about all the hybrid modes now, the alternate, the interpolate, the DEcombinate. We talked about the various formula slots, the formula categories. We've covered a lot of territory. Now the question is, well, what do we do with all of this? What do you say we kind of dip in and see if we can actually build a Mandelbulb graphic? Okay. Now, what goes on in my head when I'm thinking about what do I want to do with a Mandelbulb, the Mandelbulb3D application? I think, do I want a still or do I want an animation? Okay. Or I just want to poke around and see what happens. Okay. Now, what I've found is that the still and the animation are really two different objectives. It's relatively easy to build a still. When I say a still now, I'm referring to a single image that will, with the intention of that image being rendered out as a high quality image with no animation in it. Okay, I'm thinking of, a still. And with a still, I have the luxury of taking all the time it needs to render out. I have the luxury of tweaking the colors. I have the luxury of the resolution, the aspect ratio. I'm in a lot of control when I build a Mandelbulb scene, all right, as a still, or with the intention of it being a still. Not quite that easy when it comes to an animation. With the animation, I have to, well, I want to be concerned about render time. I certainly don't want a graphic that will take 3 minutes, 10 minutes to render, because if I'm doing 4,000 or 6,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 of those frames, I don't want to invest that amount of time in rendering out these Mandelbulb frames, which will ultimately be used in an animation. So in an animation, I'm not looking for, well, I'm looking for a situation where I get quick rendering, I get reasonably good quality, all right? Quality, the higher the quality, normally the longer it takes to render a Mandelbulb3D object. That's the way it goes. So, I think to myself, well, what do I want? Do I want a still or do I want an animation? Now, if I want an animation, I'll typically avoid a whole bunch of formulas that are run either in the alternate or the DEcombinate mode. In both of those modes, I can have up to 6 formulas assigned. All right. The interpolate, I can only have 2 formulas. Okay, so that makes it a little bit easier. So if I'm looking to do an animation, I'm careful about delving into or creating a Mandelbulb scene that has a lot of formulas. Each of those formulas has to be rendered and internal to the software. The math has to be applied to combine them or layer them or whatever it does. So in animation, I typically go for a simple Mandelbulb. I can still do alternate, I can still do DEcombinate, but I just don't load it up with a whole lot of Mandelbulb formulas in an animation because it's really going to be expensive when it comes time to render it. If I'm doing a still, hey, the sky's the limit. You do whatever you want because you can afford the time to render. It doesn't matter if it takes 30 minutes to render one still, might very well be worth it. So taking a look at the application here for a few minutes here, I wanted to share with you the concept of have an idea what you want to do, a still or an animation, because it's going to have a lot to do with, well, I guess the success of your project. So let's just say that I wanted to do a still, all right? And a still, I'm not constrained by render time and even by resolution. The sky's the limit. Let's do all the formulas I want. So I was talking a couple sessions back. I was talking about being careful to not just throw a whole bunch of formulas at it and then render it and see what happens, because then you find yourself in a situation where you need to start kind of trying to back it out. I'm a believer in building your Mandelbulb scene. Build it. All right. Start with something. We've been looking at this integer power far too much. Let's get another one up here. Let's get you know, I'm not planning this, so I don't really know what we're doing here, but let's just build it together and experiment. Like I've said before, the Mandelbulb3D is a process of discovery. All right, if you don't try things, you're not going to discover anything. All right, let's just let's see. Let's try this BT1 Pine. Now I'm in alternate mode. Interesting. All right, I've just got one formula assigned, and that's what I get. Now that is interesting. Now I'm not going to get into modifying the properties right now. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is finding multiple formulas that seem to play nicely together. So this is pretty cool, actually. This is very nice. Let's move it so we can get a better look of it. All right, let's see what's going on over here. Okay, re-render it. All right, I think we might be able to do something with that. Now, you look at that and you say, well, all right, that's very organic. All right, we have patterns in here that could almost double for life. All right, and so I'm thinking to myself, well, that's very organic. Do I want to put another formula that makes it even more organic, or makes it more of a human construction type situation? Okay, you know, I asked myself, what can I do with this? What can I do with this image? All right, do I want to make it more organic, or do I want to move away from organic, or do I want to tear it apart? What do I want to do with it? Let's just say we want to make it more organic. Okay. Let's go then, we're in alternate mode. Let's go to formula number 2. We're going to layer now. All right. Let's say we want to layer, you know what, the tetra, they're usually pretty interesting. Okay, what I've done is I've got 2 formulas in alternate mode that I'm layering, okay, and what I've done is I have made it more organic. If I turn off the iteration count of the second one that we put in and render it. I can do that in alternate mode. That's my first. And then if I turn this formula back on, well, here, I'll tell you what. Let's come over and turn off the first formula and turn on the T-Glad Tetra, see what that looks like on its own. Okay. Now, if I come back and I turn on both formulas, that's both formulas combined in alternate mode. Okay, so what I've done is I've actually made this even more organic. So now I say to myself, what's next? Do I put another formula into it? I could. Do I stop here and start modifying the properties and see what I can do with this? I could. I consider the render time. Let me calculate. Now that rendered in a matter of seconds. Is this a good animation? It could very well be, because each of these frames is going to render very quickly. All right. So I'll tell you what, we're out of time on this session. Let's go ahead and end it here, and we're going to pick it right up again where we left off in the next session. I'll see you there.